I was talking to a business owner new to the cannabis industry. This is a passion project for him and a group of friends and family members that were awarded a license in a limited license market. They built a beautiful facility, and right off the rip, they're essentially going through the first series of commissioning. I think it takes months, at least 6 months, to actually commission a building top to bottom. The contractors and everybody building it always want to sign off as commissioning being completed when you get your certificate of occupancy and the building's handed over to the ownership saying, okay, here you go. Here's the building that you paid us to build for you. You're licensed, you're approved to operate, you're off to the races. They kind of wash their hands and they're out of there. But the real thing is you can't commission mechanical equipment and dehumidification capacity until you actually have a true sensible load in the room with your specific planting density, optimal plant sizes, the true irrigation volume running through the room. That's only part of it. Then you have the other side of commissioning that's like light interruption, right? A lot of people want to standardize big bright hallways in between their flowering rooms and maybe run, depending on power restraints, potentially run half the rooms dark while the other rooms are lights on in their photo period. So you got to think about all the traffic through your main corridor and your aisleways for these dark rooms that have standard doors. Not everybody puts in lab grade sealed tight doors that have tight rubber thresholds around all four sides and a sweep on the bottom. So a lot of facilities are built out with standard 4070 metal doors, and it is up to the cultivator and the team to literally go stand in the room in the dark and let your eyes adjust and start trying to identify light penetration that could interrupt the dark cycle. A lot of the times that's going to come through mechanical ductwork. If you have mechanical systems that are just mounted to the outside of the building, ducted straight in, there might be pinholes, there might be a glow from a heating coil inside of it. And not all systems have light traps. You can definitely choose systems with light traps to eliminate that type of light interruption during the dark cycle. But step one is getting in the room in the dark, getting your eyes acclimated to the dark, and trying to discover where that light's coming in. And again, 9 times out of 10, it's going to come through those doors, and you got to get creative sometimes with the right type of rubber gaskets and sweeps and weather stripping to really get those doors tight to reduce the light interruption as much as possible. And then on top of that unnatural light coming in during the dark period, then you want to look at the equipment in the room and what type of sensors, monitoring equipment you might have that's displaying like a really bright red LED light or a blue LED light or even a green LED light. And how intense is it? I've seen it a lot too, where like people get thermostats mounted on the walls inside the rooms that are then hooked up to a building management system, but they still have to have the thermostat on the wall or somewhere in the room. And a lot of the times they have a glow inside of them from the light to be able to light up the display screen. And even when the display screen's off, there's still a glow inside the housing. And it's super important to really realize the amount that even the smallest amount of light interruption can affect some super sensitive varieties. I'd say there's 2 types of varieties that most of us cultivate, and there's what I would consider grower strains that it doesn't matter what you do to them. Not so ideal environment. Maybe your lighting intensity's off. Maybe your feed regimen isn't perfect. Cultural techniques from pruning and defoliation could not be perfect, but they still crank. They yield. The potency's there. The terpene profiles are there. It's like no matter what you do to them, they're going to produce no issues. And that goes for light interruption too. I mean, I've seen rooms with these grower strains with all, in buildings with all sorts of light leaks, and you don't get any hermaphroditing characteristics whatsoever. But then the other strains are these like finicky, troublesome varieties that are typically more desirable. They're strains that are tougher to cultivate, just more sensitive in general to everything: drought stress, light interruption, environmental swings, all of the above. And I've seen it where a small LED blinking or shining on a portion of the canopy that no one realized was there, all of a sudden, you get in there and you start seeing male flower development and Herms. And if you don't catch it early enough, you could jeopardize the rest of the room. So again, it's just super, super important to try to, as early on as possible, identify light interruption and be able to mitigate and provide solutions to remove that light. I've seen other facilities too where people put green lighting down the main aisleways. So especially on those flip facilities where you're running half your flower rooms in the dark while the other half are on and your team's in and out working in the rooms, at least the green light illuminating the corridors for life safety and operational abilities. Your staff can move throughout the building and have adequate light to see, but if there is a little bit of light penetration coming into the rooms through those door thresholds or through whatever penetrations there might be, whether it's irrigation lines running through your sandwich panels or whatever your wall materials are, or electrical conduits, low voltage control wiring, all sorts of different penetrations that are usually made in the ceiling or in the walls that light could interrupt in. At least it's green light. That is definitely a much safer type of light penetration to not be interrupting that dark cycle.